All right, well, hello, everybody, welcome. I am Tristan Wynn. A lot of people know me as Mrs. Wong, but I got married, so now I'm getting used to my new name. So I am Mrs. Wynn. And today we're going to be presenting to you guys on the summer slides. So we're talking about building academic, social, and physical skills all summer long. And what's really great about today is that we're going to be talking from TK all the way to 12. So you guys are going to get tips and tricks from all the levels. All right, and here's a little quick agenda of today, and I'll get into it in the next slide. But if you guys want to take a look at that, here are some of the topics that we're going to be covering today. Okay, and just a few guidelines for you guys today. We're here to collaborate and celebrate, meaning this is going to be kind of more of an interactive seminar. So if you guys have any thoughts, please feel free to hold on to them. And we're going to have a Q&A at the end where we can have almost like a nice discussion. Embracing every voice. We've got a lot of different amazing people in this room today. So just being open and building a safe space where we all can share. And then here we have our learning objectives. So kind of like what we were talking about earlier with our agenda. So we've got two really amazing speakers on the elementary field who will be focusing on academics, as well as the social emotional power of play with our little ones. We've got our secondary. So we have talking about preparing for college and career, our students' interests, as well as different learning opportunities and community service. And then we also have really cool, we have our outdoor experiences. So we've got Ashley Protein, our police officer, we've got, we're talking about water safety and park safety. So we've got really cool topics covering for that, as well as just some practical tips and resources that you guys can take home with you today. And I'm going to pass it back to Yvonne Cortez-Dard, and she's going to talk a little bit about the learner program.
All right. Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things at our district, one of the things I want to highlight is this Family Resource Center. This is our second to last parent seminar of the year. We have had over 15 of them this first year. We started in October of 2023, and we're really proud of the work that we have done to really truly highlight not only the work of building this amazing place for families to come in and participate with us and engage with us, but also to bring in experts all across the city from within our staff that have a variety of different levels of expertise and really showcase that for you in a very unique and interactive way. One of the biggest pieces that we have as a district is the learner profile. We've been working on it for over 2.5 years. And really, what we think about when we look at the learner profile, if you haven't seen it before, and it's your first time seeing it, really what you should not see it is what we use as a district in terms of the outcomes that we want for our children once they leave our school district. What do we want them to become, right? We want them to become constructive collaborators, empathetic citizens, creative problem solvers. And how does that translate into the durable skills that we know are going to be needed for them to have a long-lasting, not only career, but life? And so I hope that you can continue to see the work that we do, everything that is within this, the parent seminars that we offer within the Family Resource Center, as well as within the district, is going to see a lot of infusion of the learner profile, whether it's, working with our students in the classroom and the interactions that we have. We do learning walks so that we can learn about what students are doing in the classroom and their experiences, but then we also work with our teachers to design lesson plans that are really tailored to pushing forward these different elements of the learner profile. So I just wanted to briefly speak about it. You'll continue to see it. I hope that your students begin to speak about it and begin to feel empowered and begin to learn about all the different ways that they can spark their own curiosity and really change the world beyond what just is in our community and our district. So thank you all so much. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Ms. Kim Maxson.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here today representing both of our elementary schools. I'm Kimberly Matson. I've been in the district for 15 years. I'm the instructional coach at El Moro. This is my 7th year in that position. Prior to being at El Moro, I actually went between both sides. So what is an instructional coach? I coach the teachers, I work with instructional services, but it's all things academic. So anywhere a teacher would need support or kids would need support with academics, I'm there. I'm actually going to stay on this slide before you see my face, because I'm going to sort of show how the empowered learner can be seen in the summer activities for your student. It says, I maximize my potential by setting goals, having a vision for my future, being resilient and embracing challenges. And, you know, how can that be something we sort of look at in the summer and activities for your student to do? So, mitigating the summer slide, what does that mean? How do we support our kids in helping them have a really fun summer, but still keep those skills strong throughout the summer that they work so hard at during the school year? I took some time before putting this presentation together, putting my slides together, and I talked to teachers and I said, what would be really important for you if you were to talk to parents, or you know, what would you want your students to really do and focus on over the summer? And they came up, everybody hands down said these two things. There were more, and I'll talk about more things, but daily reading 20 minutes per day. We know that when students read, they on a daily basis, they build that vocabulary. That's so strong, right? And they, you know, having a variety of books they read and the comprehension skills, and it helps writing. Reading every day really supports all academics. And then they said to practicing those math facts, keeping just those skills, that repetition, you know, understanding the multiplication, addition, subtraction, and just keep practicing those things all the time. So we do have a lot of online supports throughout the district, and I just want to point those out, and you know, in case you're wondering over the summer, just to have something handy. iReady Reading and Math is personalized instruction. Your student will be taking a district, a diagnostic at the end of the year, all kids in the district, all the levels, and for elementary students, it does push out activities. So there's lessons that are standards-based. But the really neat thing about it, it's at your student's level. So they'll be, in the next couple of weeks, the elementary students will be taking their iReady Math and Reading Diagnostic. And so if you have some time and you're wanting to have some support for your student over the summer, pop it on Beachport and get it on iReady is an awesome way. And it's both, and they're familiar with it because they use it during the day, during classes. SD Math is another program we have. It's grade level math activities. It's a great review. So if your student, you know, loves math, they may not have finished all their SD Math, but it's a wonderful way for them to go on and do that. And it's conceptual, so it's a different type of math. You know, it shows, it's all grade level based, but it gives them like a pictorial representation, and then before it gets into the algorithm, the actual, you know, 7 times 3, you know, instead of the numbers, it shows pictorial representations, which is wonderful. And then we have a new program this year that we started. It's called Reflex Math, and Reflex Math is a math facts program. So a lot of the kids, the older students, some of them have mastered it already because they were already well on their way. It's addition, subtraction, and then there's a multiplication and addition as well. Excuse me, multiplication and division. We have typing agent, if your student needs support with that. And then we have SOAR, which is online library. And I'm going to talk about that at the next slide. So all the things that reading, you can encourage your student to read daily, but also reading to your student is very valuable. Pulling out a classic chapter book. It doesn't matter what it is, right? Maybe they love a certain chapter book and they want to reread it. When you read it with them, you're modeling reading, it boosts your child's academics amazing because it helps them get through that new, you know, maybe higher end vocabulary, exposure to different contents. If you read a classic, you're going to have to explain it, right? You can't, they're not necessarily going to understand it. And then I included some of the other ones on here, but Sora is this wonderful program we have on the Beachport app, and it's an online library. And it's available to all the students in our district and even adults. The teachers can use it, which is really cool. Yeah. And so I have teacher friends that have checked out books, and it's an online way for kids to be able to check out books. And it's great. And then they just check it back in and they can check out another one. And the librarians, Glenn's here, they do take requests too. If your student has a request, they can email their librarian.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah, Stephanie buys books on store. And then obviously visiting your public library, they always used to do, they do some kind of summer challenge. And getting that library card, if you have littles especially, getting a library card, what a fun thing to do. And there's a lot of perks with library cards as well. You can go on the public library website to see the different things. I did do a link in here for online stories. There's some great, bedtime stories if you're short on time and, it's a great little online, there's readers and it's really fun books. We do publish a summer district resource for summer activities. It's online activities as well as printed activities. So you don't have to go out if you want your student to do some daily writing or things like that. There's a lot on there, and the principals will share that at the end of the school year. El Moro and Top of the World are going to be each doing a summer reading. We have Beanstack, which is a new program that our district will be officially rolling out in the fall, but the kids have seen it. And Beanstack is another online incentive program for reading where the kids log their minutes and they can log books. It's fantastic. It's really fun. All the adults are doing it too. I'm actually doing it with our librarian and another teacher, and we could, send notes to each other and challenges and things like that. But you, on Beachport, if you go into Beanstack, there'll be a summer reading challenge for kids, and it'll be really fun. And both sites are doing it, so I just included that. Next, we have math. Math can be every day, right? If you're shopping, if you're going somewhere, you're putting money in the meter, and you can do counting money all the time, telling time, analog time, right? Get those watches, no digital. It's really hard for everybody. I've had, I taught first grade, and I would encourage everybody to teach their student how to tell time on the analog clock, and I don't have that. But you can set your watch or you can set your phone, right, to have an analog clock. Really important. Counting by fives, counting by tens. Measurement and geometry is everywhere. And then we talked about the other ones as well. So additional ideas, cook with your kids, read recipes and bake. Measuring, gardening, what a great way, right? Science, we're so lucky to have Kelly Osborne at both elementary sites working with the kids in the garden. So your kids have all had garden experience, get them a pot and have them see what they can grow over the summer. Visiting the tide pools, writing is a big thing. And so if you can encourage your student over the summer, maybe even just to do one little writing piece, right? And, do something special to celebrate it. But writing is, you can incorporate it into anything. And it really helps with that fine motor, having your kids practice letter writing and all those kinds of things. Cutting, very important. We always have a lot of kids. I think, just after, being home for a couple of years, right, for some of our students, they didn't get that experience cutting and things like that. So doing fine motor is really important. And then we also talk about ways to help your student with executive functioning. And I put just down some basic things. All this to be said that we want our kids to come in and be really successful, be able to follow directions, work with a schedule, tie their shoes. If you have little ones at home, that's a big deal. And even some of our older kids, it just kind of slips by a little bit. But, one teacher, 20 kids, right? And sometimes more, it's really hard to, get everyone's shoes tied. So that's a big summer thing. And then we talk about jumping rope and playground games. Helping your child, especially if you're newer to the community or your child's younger, going to the big playground from kinder, helping them to kind of have some of those skills so that they can go and enjoy play on the playground. And Marianne will follow up with more of that. And last but not least, have fun. Let your child experience things that you did during childhood. Unplug for a while. We've given lots of resources that are not necessarily online, kind of a good mix. But think about what you did as a kid. Go to the beach, take a book, read, right? Build sandcastles, all those fun things. Thanks for having me today. If you have any questions, you can email me and we'll pass it on to Marianne. Thank you.
Well, my name is Marianne Lawson. I'm the school counselor at El Moro. And before I became the school counselor, I was an elementary classroom teacher from kindergarten all the way to middle school. And so I want you to think that in addition to the hat of education, I'm also a mom, and I have kids at every level right now. I'm tricky with drop off and pick up. But I have a high schooler, I have a middle schooler, and I also have one in elementary. And so before we get into my plan, I want to take you through a journey. I want you to go back into your own childhood right now. I want you to picture the neighborhood that you're in. I want you to think about being outside and that quintessential thing that you used to always say to your mom, Mom, I'm bored. Right? And so think about play outside, right? So I want you to think for a moment, going back into your own neighborhood. You would go and think, okay, play outside for a little bit, but you know what would be fun is to go over to the neighbor's house. When you knock on the door, so-and-so there, can they come out and play?
Yeah.
Are you picturing that?
Yeah.
And then what I want you to do is, when you think about that childhood memory, you would yell back, Mom, so-and-so wants to play with me. And then help me finish this. Your mom would say, okay, come back when the street lights come on, street light. And as moms, right, as parents, some of us are looking around the room like, yes, I would never do that right now. Right? And so at some point, we have to think, when did that change? When did that, and we grew up just fine,
Well,
right? So I want you to think, at some point, we did this entire pendulum shift to parents being social constructs, right? We are, hey, I like you. I like your mom. Let's do play date, right?
yes.
And so I want you to think for a moment. That has now become our new norm, right? And at some point, sometimes you have your ear out. You know, your children start school, you're like, okay, who are your friends? Okay, point them out to me on the playground, and then you think, okay. And you ask the teacher, okay, well, who are their moms? And then you try to get, numbers and maybe you get your Instagram. But one of the things that I want you to come on through with me. When I first had, I had 3 kids. Remember I told you I had at the time, when I had my 3rd child, I had 1 in kinder, I had 1 in preschool, and I had 1 as an infant. And I remember it was early birds, late owls, and I had like a half day, and I just moved into the neighborhood, and my kids didn't know anybody, I didn't know anybody, and I had to grow my village, right? And so I would, every Wednesday at early release, we would go visit a park, and that would be our opportunity to go out. And I'm not gonna mom shame anybody or dad shame anybody, but one of the things I think about is like, okay, I'm gonna be the Mary Poppins of all the moms. I'm gonna bring squirt guns, and I'll bring fruit snacks, and I'll bring gluten-free snacks, because the other kids that we need are, and we think about all these things, the waters and everything. Oh, and sometimes when you are on those play dates and you get around those families, you're like, I did not bring anything, and the other mom, I got it, what did you do? Right? Some of you are nodding, you're like, yep, because it resonates, right? But as we explore play and we think about how it's shifted, there's a study done by the National Poll of Children's Health that 85% of families now have shifted completely to scheduling children's structured play dates.
Wow.
And so what does that do, right? We, as parents, are pre-selecting their friends, right? Pre-selecting the activity. Okay, we're gonna go to Jumper House. It's gonna be so fun to have all that. In fact, I have extra socks, 5 socks, and there's those things, right? Then we think about, wait a minute. What we're doing is we're mitigating conflicts for the kids. If there is some sort of conflict that happens out on that park, and they come back and cry, Mommy, and you think, okay. And do they walk you over to, that tough and big bully? Really, it's not. It's natural. Conflicts happen in our everyday life, but yet we are now mitigating that. We predetermine the rules. Sometimes if there's like squirt guns or water balloons, we're like, okay, you're not in phase here, and you can only stay in this area, right? we're giving them these predetermined rules
Hmm.
and the guidelines. And we're also, by structuring these play dates, giving them social restrictions.
Hmm.
I want you to think about when you were a child and you went out to the public parks. You didn't say, okay, only if you have a bachelor's degree, you get to play at this park. No, you played with whomever, whenever, who was there, right? But now with these structured play dates, we're really putting parameters on our own kids. So I want you to think that this play date movement, again, another study that I found so fascinating is in the archives of pediatrics and adolescent medicine. This was interesting. So what they did was they grabbed a bunch of kiddos, put them on the playground, and they gave them a bunch of, let's call them loose objects, AKA junk, right? And in that, they divided it into 4 quadrants. Some of these kids were like, okay, there you go, find something, right? And then this other group, they just had to like sit and listen to a book. Another group, they had to also interact with the teacher. And then another group, they just sat. The study found that the kids that had these loose objects, not only were they able to put together these abstract thoughts, but they were also able to then articulate what was this abstract thought, what could it be used for, and the multiple uses, right? We said they're using their creativity, their imagination, and they had 75% more cognitive thinking ability than the 3 other groups. Another study in developmental psychology also kind of looked at that abstract thinking and obstructed the thought. They gave them certain objects where they gave them parameters. And because there was a glass ceiling on that, they couldn't think past it.
Hmm.
Some thoughts, right? The next is, and I'm not saying let's get rid of play dates. I'm saying let's have a balanced approach to all of it, right? So the structured play date, yes, great. It introduces people to peers. You're brand new in a neighborhood, you don't know anybody. Fantastic. Meet some people, get their numbers and schedule that. But then, you know what also it does is students start to recognize patterns. Oh, okay, we go to this park, we play these games, these are things that these kids like and these kids don't like. And then they have a pre-established goal. Okay, kids, right? You have 5 more minutes and then we gotta go home. I hear the roundup. Then next, we also talk about the non-structured play. I'm gonna go into this a lot more, but it creates independence, imagination, and parental supervisory styles. We have to kind of. So here's what I want you to take away from this presentation, really is creativity and imagination. It fosters that problem-solving ability, social skills, and believe it or not, emotional regulation. When kids go out to that park and they figure out who they want to play with, and they do get into a conflict, let's not show them from that. Let's teach them how to move through that, because that's what happens in real life. And once they get to their adulthood and they're like, I don't know what's happening, go back into those like core memories. So there is a wonderful book that I have planted in my audience by Julia Laguna. She is a researcher from Stanford that wrote How to Raise an Adult. So if you don't mind, parents, can I have number 1? Can you read that?
Play provides the opportunity for children to learn, develop, and perfect new skills that build competence.
Perfect, thank you. Number 2.
Sure. Play is the child's natural mode to master anxiety from overwhelming experiences of everyday life, which builds the capacity to cope with the environment.
Perfect. Number 3.
Play helps build the ego's capacity to mediate between unconscious and conscious realities, which enhances the ego's strength. And
play repeats or confirms a gratifying experience that fuels the child's investment in life.
That's nothing like, we talked about this, being passionate about something, being so passionate, it almost becomes like effortless, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to think about ideas for non-structured play, have blocks, exploring nature. We're going to talk about that in more depth. Drawing and painting. How many of you love a good cardboard box? Yes, filled with evidence. Running. And they call this loose part. They encourage you to go on the internet and they have this fun idea, it's on YouTube, about loose parts. And it's really just junk, and you put it all together and you have the kids explore. And last, inventing games, dolls and action figures, and creative visualization. I want you to think about all of those. And last bit, it doesn't take a lot of money. Please don't think you have to buy a lot of it. Corner in the house, outside of the garden, painting, drawing, and using organic materials to invent, right? Next thing is getting outside, encouraging exploration. And then maybe even looking at clouds, laying on the floor and looking at clouds and seeing what you see. And then last is riding your bike, exploring the park and riding in your neighborhood. And this is a fantastic segue. Not only if you are interested in the book, you can go and see Cara for our next book club. This was actual book club. Wait a minute, we hand the baton over to.
I think probably that, my presentation's not that exciting. Because I feel like what I'm covering here, I've been saying in my sleep for the last, 3-4 years. So December 2020, it seems like Santa Claus made it rain e-bikes here. And so we're like, okay, what do we do with these little death trap kamikaze? Right? So Laguna Beach became kind of like the central hub for e-bike everything. So me and my partner at the time were like, okay, we're gonna be the ones that have to do something. We're the fortunate ones to police your kids. So, so anyways. So we became the experts on everything. And what we figured out since 2020, Christmas time, is that the biggest thing is that the kids, as we all know, always know more than we do, than you do. So I want to make sure, again, putting the power in your hands. So you do not have to buy your kid electric anything, nothing. I'm still afraid that we're gonna have a generation of kids that have 0 quad strength and glute strength. They are all of a sudden just like, I sit and I do it. And so when we see a kid riding around town, especially here in Laguna Beach, going up a hill on a regular bike, we're like, cue the Rocky theme song, we're blaring it, we're like, you're doing it, buddy, you're doing it, you're a real life kid. It's, on a separate note, my son turned 5 over the weekend. And he got his first big boy bike. And so he got to ride without training wheels for the first time. And I'm not exaggerating at all. He learned how to ride his bike without falling before 6 a.m. on Saturday. And so, but it was nice to see. It was a breath of fresh air. Because I had my mommy hat on, who's crying like my baby. But also professionally, like this is what I've devoted so much time over the last 4 years, was making sure that kids are safe on bikes. And it's really great because like what Mary Ann said, these kids need to get outside and play. It removes the pressure, everything of just what's going on in the world. And so now as soon as I get home, I have my kid, he's like, Mommy, I want to go ride my bike. I'm like, at least he wants to go outside. But what he does first, and what I'm happy to see that the kids here at school are doing, is he puts his helmet on. No matter what, my kid's the one that runs around in the park with his helmet still on, but he's doing everything. The rule should be in your homes, don't get lazy about it. Anything with wheels, helmet on. And that doesn't mean unbuckled, they need to strap it. So your kids all know this because they're tired of Officer Ashley stopping over and saying, hey dummy, you need to do this, okay? Because I like visiting them at school, I like coming to your houses on their birthdays. I don't like visiting them at the 5th floor Mission Hospital at Chalk. Chalk is near and dear to my heart, but not for that reason, I don't want to do that. And it seemed like it was like every other Friday for the first couple of years that these bikes came to play, that I was making a special trip over to the trauma center. And that's how everything is treated when someone has any kind of a bike injury. And luckily, over the last year or so, that's diminished. I now go there to drop off cookies to say thank you to the nurses. Or we bring the first generation club on a field trip to go see what's going on there. So I just want to remind you on that one, helmets are non-negotiable. No matter what your kids say, they don't need a Sur-on. They don't need anything that says that it's a motorcycle. Focus on class 1, class 2 bikes only. If you have to buy your kid an e-bike, please. The marketers out there for these companies, they don't have to actually tell you like, hey, sorry that your 12-year-old or 14-year-old can or cannot ride it. So please make sure that you do your research on that. Resource officer right here, hit me up, happy to help with you on that one. The kids like to modify their bikes. You go to Thurston and maybe we're gonna have a whole generation of hands-on mechanics because they know what's up. They know how to fine tune everything and they know how to use YouTube if they can't figure it out on their own. So make sure that you're regularly checking in on their scooters, their bikes and everything. If something looks a little off, hey, let's check that out. you get on there and ride it and figure it out if it's a little bit different. A lot of our accidents lately have been because of bike maintenance or lack thereof. So learn how to work on that bike. So when they take our e-bike class, which you have to do in order to ride your bike to school, is you have to take it, and we go over it step by step on their bikes. So now I'm a bike mechanic, some have too. And so we teach them head to toe what the forks are, what everything, you know, brakes, especially because we live in a town full of hills. But that's not also for e-bikes, again, it's for regular bikes. Teaching kids how to, you know, front brake, rear brake, that kind of thing. And then this is one that it seems like adults, we tend to forget too. Anything that has wheels, same laws as the vehicle code. And so the number one vehicle code violation on bikes that we see with kids, running stop signs. And they're just oblivious of it. We're oblivious to it. They don't have driver's license, you know, so that they don't understand. It's, you know, we get into arguments a lot of times with people who are against the bikes for kids. We explain to them, listen, when you rode a regular bike or a skateboard or anything, you didn't have a driver's license, so you didn't understand, you didn't see the severity, you don't understand blind spots in a car. So make sure with your kid, park on the driveway, you know, go sit somewhere in the mall parking lot. Let them sit in the driver's seat, show them the A code, the B code, everything like that, kind of walk them around, dumb it down, and it'll make you feel better as a parent too, with your kiddo being out there riding around. And again, it doesn't have to just be e-bikes. This one is my favorite, and I feel like I say it every, I don't know, Friday or Saturday night when I get a frantic phone call from a parent. You are a parent first, you are a friend second. They are on your payroll, they are your property, they are your liability. Please, 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 please don't forget to protect them. That is your number one job, and it can solve a lot of problems. Who cares if they don't like you for a hot second because you make them wear their helmet? Whatever. At least then you don't have to pay them a visit, you know, somewhere else. Enroll in the class. So for you as well, be the parent that's proactive. Learn exactly what they're learning. We partner with a lot of nearby South County cities to provide weekend classes. Irvine has one coming up this week. We started one in Rancho Santa Margarita. We're doing everything we can because guess what? Your kids don't just hang out here in Laguna Beach. They hang out with kids everywhere. So if we can kind of make it uniform, that helps all of us. So please make sure you attend as well. If you remember how to ride a bike, please get out there and go ride with them. We have a lot of parents who've made contracts for their kids too, where they get in the car and they follow their kid. They've got like a little obstacle course. They've got to ride around town and they have to observe. If they break any violations, boom, that bike is gone. Again, parent first, friend second. So that helps. And again, have some rules to follow. If you say, I'm going to take the bike away, do it. Okay, please do it. If they break any of the rules in town with anything, if they get a citation from a motor cop, not for me. Sorry, don't get angry with them about it. Take some time to educate each other on, you know, what happened. Hold them responsible for it. And again, I'm going to repeat it over and over again until always. So we are always doing something in the community with bike safety, helmet safety. Again, we've kind of become like the people in town for it. So we partner a lot with Mission Viejo Hospital for their trauma department. So in summer, we're doing a helmet giveaway, and it's pretty cool because every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at Mission Hospital, Mission Viejo, you can walk into the gift shop and kids can get free helmets. No ifs, ands, or buts, just walk on in, and they're actually nice. They're matte black helmets, so the kids will be like, oh, this is a Lincoln Bell helmet or something. Register your bikes. I actually got a notification this morning that someone's green bike was actually recovered. So this is what we're doing, and we're having every single person with a bike, scooter, skateboard, anything that has wheels that can be identified, go onto this website. We partnered with them, Project 529. It's the largest network of bikes. It started in Canada and it has taken over all of North America. We have recovered so many bikes from neighboring cities and vice versa. This is super helpful. It's an account for you that you can create. If for some reason your kid forgets to lock up their bike at school and it gets taken for a little joyride and it's gone, you go on there and you click bike stolen. Or if you need to update your address or anything, it's so great. It removes, you know, having to really get law enforcement involved because then we're already notified through that, and then the network is taken care of. And then our annual bike safety expo, road safety expo, that's at Top of the World, and it's the day after prom. But Laguna is a hard place to ride bikes, so we like having this because then we have a designated area for the kiddos to ride bikes. We have the BMX stunt show, snow cones, all kinds of fun stuff, and yours truly out there riding their bike with the kid. So. Don't hesitate to be an advocate for your kids and their safety. Say no to their e-bikes. You don't have to get one. There will be a law in place in 2025 that says you have to be 12 or older. And if you do not have a driver's license, you will have to take a state mandated class.
Good.
Yes.
That's really.
So I think that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to the amount of kids that are now gonna have to take additional classes other than mine, so. Thank you very much.
Morning. My name is Brandon Dixon. I am a state lifeguard and I am the coordinator for Crystal Cove Junior Lifeguards. So I'll be talking about aquatic safety at our beaches. I'll start out with a video from California Surf Lifesaving Association. We are next.
Days on our golden beaches, enjoying the ocean and waves. Amidst the sun, fun, hidden dangers exist. One of these dangers are rip currents. Rip currents create hazardous situations for swimmers' vulnerabilities and cause thousands of rescues each year. To avoid these dangers, always speak with a local lifeguard before entering the ocean to understand current conditions, signs to look for, and what to do when stuck in a rip current. Remember, always wear your sunscreen and always talk to your local lifeguard.
All right, quick video, just discussing rips. I'll talk about rips for a second. So it's like whatever goes up always comes down, right? So you have waves break on the beach, just sloped, they have to go back out. So it creates like a river going back out to sea. And us as people, we can get stuck in them. And the way to get out, of course, is going to the side, left or right. You don't want to try to fight it back in. Even Michael Phelps would have trouble trying to get back in. So that is a common occurrence we have at our beaches. Depends on the how big it can be. But that is a problem we get quite often with kids getting stuck in rips, or even adults too.
Is it worse at high tide or low tide?
Low tide will make it worse because you have the water also going out to sea, so it can accentuate those rips. Funny story, or funny occurrence is people actually cause rips. So junior lifeguards, we always joke that they cause rip currents because they always end up in them. And they actually do, because when you stir the water up, it breaks up like the surface tension and stuff, making it go out quicker. Another issue, especially for this part of California, this part of the coast, Laguna and Crystal Cove, is plunging waves or shore break, which is what we call it. And unlike Huntington, where it's a longer sandbar and it breaks more gradually, or even southern us like the Ohini and San Onofre, at Crystal Cove and Laguna, we have shore break, and it's very hazardous with shallow water where you could stand in. And if you get big surf, we do have injuries in the summer, almost every week, we have injuries from severe to just minor. So that's something to keep in mind is if it's big, if in doubt, don't go out. Your abilities determine whether you should go in that day. Another common occurrence we have is rocks. California's is a rocky coast. Sandy conditions is a rare thing. Most of our coast looks like this. On a good day, you might see sand. This is a low tide. This is what's actually going on underneath. So when you're going out in the water, you don't want to dive straight in. You want to check it out. We have that as an issue. This is Crystal Cove right here, our split rock there. And Laguna, you guys know, is also very, very rocky. So which is different from either Newport or Huntington, where it's a lot of sand. And at Crystal Cove, we have opportunities for youth. We have our junior lifeguard program from 7 to 13 years old. This is our program that focuses on the fundamentals of beach safety. These hazards we delve into and teach them, and to connect to the keeping kids active and having tactile experience in the summer. This is a great opportunity because they get to get out of the classroom, they get to actually experience it. We teach them hands-on how to get through surf right, when not to get in the water, when to get in the water, rip currents, properly getting out of rip currents, and even rescue. We'll get them with buoys and they get to rescue each other. So it's a great experience, and it prepares them if they want to volunteer for our program. It's there's no fees for it, and we're actually starting to pay people to do our program if they perform at a higher level. And they get volunteer hours, They are able to learn to make rescues, they're able to help lifeguard our junior lifeguards under the supervision of a lifeguard. And it's great on college apps when you're putting in for volunteer hours you've done, your experience, and it gets you ready if you want to be a lifeguard. I was a lifeguard when I was 17, I wrote my college essay on lifeguarding and it worked. So it's a great opportunity. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility, 16 plus, where you're responsible for what, it's the most responsibility you ever have at that point. You know, you're responsible for equipment, you're responsible for that part of the beach, for people's lives. So it's a lot, it's a great experience, a great opportunity for our youth. And this is a closing. Just final tips, again, with rip currents, you skate from the sides, you're not trying to fight it. And my tip I can give is never swim alone. Never ever swim alone, always have a buddy. Swim near a lifeguard. And to know before you go. So know what you're doing, know the conditions, don't be diving straight in. So, yeah, that's my beach safety tips.
All right, well. Hi, my name is Paul Andrews. I'm a lieutenant with Crystal Cove State Park. I also am a father of two at El Moro. I've got a 4th grader and a 5th grader, and I'm really pleased to be here because I'm learning, a lot and refreshing a lot with all these great presentations. So it's been really great, and I'm so pleased to see everyone kind of talking about connecting with nature. I think that's going to be kind of the core of what I want to talk about. Is in this day and age, it seems like we are constantly trying to pull kids away from these devices, right? And I battle with it daily. And reconnecting with nature. We're so fortunate to be in a place that has so much nature around us. Sometimes we get complacent with our surroundings. We just take it for granted that, we have this amazing coastline with all these, animals that you can see out in, the water and the beach. And at Crystal Cove, so many opportunities to reconnect and have your kids reconnect with nature. And that's the point I really want to drive home. So we're going to talk about nature. We're going to talk a little bit about the opportunities that your families and your students can have here at Crystal Cove State Park and some of the other local parks, and then how they can reconnect. And we'll talk a little bit about safety as well. So at Crystal Cove, we have 3.5 miles of coastline. Some of it rocky, some of it sandy. And the amazing thing is, other than our historic district, which has 33 rentable cottages, the rest is kind of an untouched, preserved, marine protected area. You really can almost go back in time by just going to this park and seeing how it is in its natural state. And to me, that's a really impressive and important thing when you live in a place like Orange County, where kind of a concrete jungle, outside of being on the beach. So when you go to Crystal Cove, we saw some pictures earlier from the previous presentation. It's a pristine environment that caters to having a lot of amazing wildlife and just a really unique experience when you're there. And it's only a few minutes up the road from here. Right behind El Moro Elementary is where our backcountry, where we have 2,800 acres of backcountry trails where you can go mountain bike, you can go hiking. If you're into equestrian, you can have horses back there, which is an amazing thing, in this area, to go on a hike with your family and see horses on these trails with a beautiful ocean backdrop. It's just a really unique place to be. So you have a lot of hiking opportunities. I can almost guarantee on these hikes, you're going to see wildlife, you're going to see nature. We have all kinds of amazing birds. You'll see rabbits. We don't have any large animals, not a lot of deer that come to Crystal Cove. We have coyotes that come there. We see bobcats, but really the birds are amazing. I was never much of a bird person, but my daughter showed interest in some of the birds that were around El Moro. And so we downloaded the bird app, and all of a sudden we became bird nerds. It's amazing because we have all these colorful, yellow-bodied birds and blue birds, and then these, predator birds. You've got these red-tailed hawks. We have peregrine, not peregrine falcons, but osprey that are around the coast. You see them grabbing fish. We have pelicans. We have cormorants. They're all in the area, so it's just amazing opportunity to see these birds, and some of our massive pelicans have a 7-foot wingspan. Just educational opportunities And the kids start really getting into it. Dad, what's that bird? Let's break out the app, you know, the app, you walk through where you're at, what size is the bird, what color was it? And all of a sudden it gives you a selection and they get into it. So that's an amazing way to connect with nature there. We talked a little bit about, you know, a rocky coastline. So at Crystal Cove, we have a bunch of tide pool opportunities. The tide pools are kind of heavily impacted. We get a lot of tourists and a lot of people who come and don't know about how fragile that ecosystem is. And so getting kids out there and teaching them about that fragile ecosystem and seeing what you can see, it's great for them. So they can take some ownership and some stewardship in these resources that they're really impacted by people. So a great learning opportunity for them with the tide pools. Also, we have a multi-use trail that goes all the way from Reef Point. That's kind of where the park starts to the south where the houses end. And then that multi-use trail goes almost 3 miles all the way down to Corona del Mar. That's a paved surface, so you can ride your bikes on there, non-e-bikes.
That's right.
We do a lot of platform e-bikes on there, but really it's mostly flat. So it's a great place where I know it's hard to find a flat area that's safe to ride your bikes. I take my kids there when they have their training wheels on their bikes, all the way up through skateboards and roller skates. Great place to go and use those tools where it's harder to find elsewhere in the city. While you're on that multi-use trail, you're going to see nature. It's all over the place between the flowers and animals and stuff. So really great to be in that environment. There is the Beachcomber restaurant and the Shake Shack. Great place to stop, have lunch. You can really make a day out of that. And the hiking's close by on the east side of the highway. All that multi-use trail is on the west side of the highway. When you go there multiple times, you can break it up so it feels like you're doing something new every time that you come to the park. Okay, so safety in the parks, there are some environmental factors that you should consider when you're out in the park. For those who want to go explore the backcountry and hike, I recommend not going in the heat of the day. A lot of people show up around noon, 1 o'clock. It's nice and still cool down, where in the parking lot, you get that coastal breeze. But once you go back deeper into the park, temperatures can go up 15, 20 degrees. You don't bring enough water. We deal with a lot of heat exhaustion back there. So coming with your family, if you have, older members of your family that are coming along, just make sure you're doing it during a cool time of the day. If it's a heat wave, we recommend obviously not going back in there. This time of year, snakes are out. We do have rattlesnakes, king snakes. There's a lot of misnomers about these snakes and how, they're aggressive. They really aren't. They just want to be left alone. So I always recommend people are looking down the trail when they're walking. The snakes can be crossing the trail. Regardless of what type of snake it is, we just say give it its distance. The snakes are typically trying to just move it out of the way, especially in areas of activity. If the snake's not moving and it's blocking the trail, if you stomp your feet from the distance, they'll pick up on the vibrations and likely just move out of the way. We obviously don't want anyone to handle snakes, regardless if you've got pet snakes or whatever else, because you're not, you just don't want to handle them. But it's more of awareness, just be looking at the trail, especially in the springs when they start coming out. And then in the winter, they go back and they kind of hibernate. So other wildlife that you might see out there, I mentioned you have coyotes and bobcats and all the birds. In the fall, you might see some tarantulas crossing the trail, which is kind of unique. Nobody really thinks about tarantulas, but it's really cool. If you see one, take a picture. We really ask that, you just respect nature from a distance to give those animals space that they need. Same goes for on the beach. You might encounter wildlife out there. We do get seals or sea lions that get stranded. I know everybody wants to get a selfie, but we really want to respect that space. Sometimes they're ill, or they need care, and our lifeguards are there to help assess and figure out what resources we need to get to them. So we talked a little about heat emergencies and the wildlife, but the third thing I want to talk about as far as pushing the wrong. Back. Okay. We also want to keep the park safe. So something that we're trying to instill in families and our students is, we as parks employees are trying to keep the people safe in the park and keep the park safe from the people. And we want our students to become good stewards of this environment. That's staying on trail so that we don't, damage habitat for animals. It's making sure that we're always picking up after our trash or picking up trash that we might find. Make sure that the animals have a safe place to be. But we want to do what we call a 7th generation approach. We're trying to preserve this place and this environment for 7 generations to come. And so we try to teach our students that this was not just about our time in the park, we want this to be something special for others that come, after you. So 7th generation approach, we want to make sure that we keep the park safe and report anything to park staff that, may be unsafe for people or, for nature. Finally, I just want to talk quickly about other opportunities for your students who are maybe in high school, looking for that first job. A job in public service is such a valuable thing for our young folks. Something that's selfless, a lot of times we often kind of relate our community and our society is kind of very self-centric. And a job in public service really teaches people at a young age to do something for others, provide service for others. As a lifeguard, they're gonna learn skills. We hire at 16 years old, all the way up to, however old. And they're gonna learn skills that they would learn nowhere else. They're gonna learn CPR, how to be calm in emergencies, first aid, rescue recognition. And at that age, it's just a huge, tremendous skill. Not only do they learn that for when they're working and being paid to do that, when they're out in their community and they see something like somebody who has a bike accident or somebody who collapses in a store, they know those fundamentals, how to stop bleeding, how to call for help, and how to be calm and keep everyone else calm. Those skills are invaluable for our students. We have other jobs that aren't in the public safety sector. It's more of working as a park aide. These jobs often can become ranger positions if they choose to get a job in law enforcement. But regardless of what they choose to do, those skills will really set them up for the future. We talked earlier about college applications. I write a lot of letters of recommendation. I've got lifeguards, former lifeguards now in medical school, PA school, nursing, a lot of medical related type fields, but they go on to do all kinds of amazing things. And they all say the same thing. Those fundamental skills were just invaluable to them. So if that's something that you want to start instilling early, public service and how that can apply for college essays. And not just that, master's programs and things like that. I get all kinds of requests for those letters of recommend. It seems to, really set them apart from other people who are applying. And I'll be here for questions after. Thank you for your time and appreciate it. Thanks.
Right, so we'll be taking a 5-minute little intermission before we wrap up with our second half of presenters. So please feel free to walk around, grab some coffee, stretch, bathroom break. We'll be back in 5.
Hello, my name is Lynn Gregory, and I'm with my colleague, Aquatic Safety, and we have the great honor of running the College and Career Center at Laguna Beach High School. So we're excited to be here today and look forward to sharing you a few things that you can help your student do this summer. Or not. There you go. Thank you. Is it this? There you go. So when your students come to us, they are very unsure of who they are, what do they want to do, what matters to them. So these next 4 years are absolutely crucial in developing and fine-tuning all those seeds that have been planted in your home through all these amazing stories that people have been telling us in the previous presentations. But this time is about self-discovery, and it is really, really important. We are always tethered to our children. We always will be, but this is the time for parents to let go and really, really, really instill that responsibility along with that independence. It's really hard for parents to do. But what we are trying to get to is to teach them that emotional intelligence and problem solving, how very, very important it is. Because what we're doing today will let them fly into the future. Time management is crucial for them. Teamwork and creativity, all the things that we've heard going up to, but now it's time to make sure they know these skills. Community and communication skills, it's tough. Our kids don't want to talk to us when we get to that age. It's really hard. So as a parent with your student, it's developing your style. And I think that's really, really crucial. We can use that time over the summer to really spend more time because as we know, our kids are very scheduled and they have a lot going on in their lives. So summer is a great time. Dinner with your family. I cannot stress enough. Our kids are really busy, right? If you have to eat dinner at 9, maybe you have to eat dinner at 9. But those times together, building those communication skills and what your family is about to help them develop who they are, where they came from, and to be proud of that. teach them that resilience, it's gonna serve them well. So our next few slides show us a few things of why it's important, because our kids also are very myopic. They only think of themselves at this age, and that's okay, because that's how they are surviving in that little sphere. But what our job is now is to teach them to think outward and look at others, and to how we can serve a greater community. And this is how we're gonna teach them. Oh my, how about this one?
Okay, so community service, I loved having the parks representative presenting first, just because that is so outwardly focused, right? And whether it's a job or community service. We work with the kids, and a lot of what they come into us for is, I want to go to this school, help me get in. And so we are pretty in tune with what schools are looking for, but we also know that it is a little bit of a race to nowhere. You can have all the APs and all the dual enrollments and all the jobs and all the internships and still not get in. And so really, what are we actually trying to do as parents and educators? We are trying to help kids become who they were meant to be. So we do know schools are interested in kids who are interesting. That's just basically what it is, which is what makes lifeguarding at the beach or working at a park unique and interesting, and especially if that kid is fired up about that, right? So you do have to have 40 hours of community service to graduate from Laguna Beach High School. There's all kinds of opportunities to do that, but we encourage kids, especially over summer, find something you actually love. Do you want to go take care of the puppies at Pet Mart and like just take care of those little guys, or foster kittens? Or do you want to go work at the park? Or do you want to like help out at the Boys and Girls Club? And it's just a chance to explore what they're interested in and maybe find an area of community service that they are passionate about, that grows into all kinds of job responsibility, experience, that for the essays for the college gives them something to write about, show they're interesting, but it makes them actually interesting people, right? We want them to move away from doing stuff to get into college and more cultivating who they are. That's gonna get you into college. Does that make sense? So that's what we care about.
And it's not about the hours. We say 40 hours is what's required. I don't care if it's 40 hours or 400. If it doesn't move them, if it's not meaningful, it's not worth the time they spend.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the point, is having to
And
find.
to have it outside of themselves, right? It's in service to something else, which is just not an opportunity for growth. And these are places that people really enjoy volunteering. If you're looking for opportunities to volunteer, you have the library, the food pantry, the animal shelters, the mammal center is awesome too. So lots of these things are just available.
And if you don't know and you can't physically go to places, DoSomething.org is an organization for civic involvement. You can do it online. You can get out the vote. There are a lot of things that you can do, and the options are right there on that site as well.
And this next thing would be work. We all know the value for us when you got your first job, you're like, yes, I have my own money, I can buy my own stuff, I don't have to always be asking for money and things like that. It's super empowering. It obviously builds responsibility. It obviously builds teamwork. It obviously, like the empowered learner, you're still exploring who you are and what you're interested in, maybe taking on more responsibility at that work. But I think for these kids, again, colleges are interested in kids who have had work experience because they know they have responsibilities that they have to show up to. Because as parents, we often sort of are terrible at getting our kids to clean their room or do those chores or whatever, because we can be pushovers. Their boss isn't really gonna be a pushover, right? So that indicates that they have a work ethic, that they're gonna show up, they're gonna do a good job. And I found out, because I've raised a couple of kids through this program, and my kids are always like, nobody's hiring, I don't even know where to look. And that is so not the case. We do a job fair every spring where all kinds of employers from Laguna come to school, and the kids can sign up and they can get applications and things. Everywhere wants to hire our kids. So don't let your kids as they get a little bit older, if you have elementary still, that nobody's hiring. Any of these places, all the retail places, all the food places, the fast food, the grocery stores, all of those things are always hiring all throughout the year. So you have to have a work permit. Until you're out of high school, you have to have a work permit. During summer, I don't care who you're working for, you have to have a work permit, because you have to have at least a 2.0 in order to get a job, because academics, you need to be a student first when you're a student. And so we do those in our office or in the front office. We can get you hooked up with that, but there is opportunity to work, and just over summer, right? Everybody understands you're a teenager. You only have time in the summer or on the weekends or like a couple hours after school. They understand that. They're working with teenagers all the time, so it's highly valuable.
And work permits are issued all the way through the summer until 5 days after we return, because our job is to make sure they come back to school. So by law, we can only extend it to 5 days to make sure they get back into school. And then after that, if they continue on during the school year, then they will have to get another work permit. And I think as a parent, I was very reluctant at first to have my child work during the school year, because I'm like, oh my goodness, it's such a juggle between homework, sports. But I can tell you, when I pulled back and loosened that rein, it's amazing how that son stepped into it, because it adds responsibility and they learn time management, and it's crucial. And our employers here, especially in Laguna, are very good about their time frame. So got that, moving on. Okay, college readiness. There are so many things that we offer at the high school to help them. Dual enrollment is something that has become very big for us. It is taking classes at a community college, being enrolled in high school and college at the same time. We strongly believe it's not about more, it's about being thoughtful in what you choose. So if your child is interested in Japanese, or if your child is interested in engineering, or if they're interested in something that we might not offer at Laguna Beach High School, any student can take college classes for free. Just the help fee is required. We can help them in the College and Career Center do that. We believe in continued education. Khan Academy is a free resource. You can learn anything from K all the way through 12, physics, anything. It's tutorials, videos. If they're weak in something, go back, study those math skills. I don't care if you have to pay them a little to get them, it's worth it. We've all mentioned Sora, it's a great thing. I've actually checked out books, it's fabulous. If your student is a junior or going to be a rising senior, the college essay guy, he has free webinars. That's part of the application process for college to write your essay. How can kids be interesting and showcase what they do? Write a blog, create a podcast, be interesting. The whole thing now is learning to be curious. And then internships and job shadows. It doesn't have to be a full-time paid internship. We all have friends. We have friends in the police force. We have things, if your child is not even sure, let them shadow someone for 2 weeks. Use your own family network first, extend out to friends, and then from there, come, we can help you. Parents in this community want to help your children. I think it's the last one. I'm not sure, am I? Thank you. Thank you. So college planning, you guys, there's over 4,000 colleges in the US alone, not mentioned international. We all hear how hard it is to get into college. Our tagline is colleges are interested in students who are interesting. Find something they're interested in, go deep. Do you have to do 50,000 things? No.
It's not gonna
You're
help
gonna
anyways.
burn up, but find their passion.
Yeah.
If they don't know, College Board is a wonderful way to start researching colleges. It's a great thing. My colleague coming up next, he'll talk about an audience, how to find career interesting profiles. You guys use this time wherever you are. If you're on a school trip, go to a college, visit what it looks like. A large public university, a smaller type independent college. Right here in town, UCI, Chapman, Concordia, Fullerton, IBC. It's the type of college. Expose them to that without the pressure. For our seniors, rising seniors, Common App and UC application opens August 1st, so your student will have the opportunity to start those applications without the stress of school. And the personal essay statement and the PIQs, they can start that as well. Resumes are very important. Even your students as ninth graders can start one. Templates on Canva's free. And then Patty, you want to take over to FAFSA?
Oh, FAFSA, I just wanted to tell parents, FAFSA is so much easier now. You don't need to worry about it over summer. It'll open October 1st. And you'll just fill it out real quickly. It's so much better than it used to be. And then as far as scholarships goes, people always ask me immediately, what do we do for scholarships? Scholarship action is not super heavy over summer. A lot of it starts more like October. We have a huge program that will introduce the kids to in January, but you can always search. People just want their kids to be thinking in that direction. So you can always search in that scholarships.com, studentscholarships.com. There's a bunch of them that would just kind of start to show you. You can do filters and find what's interesting to you, what would fit you. So
And our closing comment, I know it's hard to raise young people, but I can assure you, we have the great honor of being at the high school. They are engaging, they are wonderful, and, you know, this youth, I'm proud of them, we are proud of them, and thank you, parents, for doing such a great job. And I thank you to Andrew for training them up from Thurston, and you and your colleagues to bring this, so without further ado, let's go jump to Andrew.
I'm Andrew Kendricks. I'm one of the counselors at Thurston, and I'm going to talk about career exploration and using interest inventories from Naviance to kind of like jumpstart that exploration. All right, so this is kind of my thesis statement for what I'm going to go over. It's really staying in line with what Marianne kind of started and Patty and Lynn talked about being curious, right? Like curiosity leads to discovery, and at this age, that is an opportunity that I don't think should be wasted. So these three questions: what are my interests? Yeah. What are my strengths? And who am I? I mean, I think those are big questions. All of us.
I think you're slightly challenged.
Yes, I was writing this and it was like, what? I was like, what are my interests? Kind of deep, but I do think that those are great questions to start off with, right? And a little, a little bit of research that kind of guides this as well. This is a time when students are developing rapidly, right? Like their frontal lobes are developing rapidly. So it helps them to be able to kind of look at some soft skills that are used in the workplace and how can those be developed as well. This is also a time where, like I said, they have the opportunity to be curious. There's not as much pressure to have everything figured out. They have that luxury. And I heard earlier in the presentation that a lot of their time is so structured, right? Throughout the entire week in the school year and then through the summer as well. Is there an opportunity to find some time in summer when there's more free time for them to maybe be a little bit more lax with their time and try something new? Maybe they don't do the same sport, but they try something like a cooking class, which I'll go over in a little bit. The last bit about role models I think is really interesting. Having positive role models in adolescence is so important. It's linked to having higher self-esteem and then reduced health risk behaviors. And this really only ties into like one little piece of my presentation, but it's maybe one of my favorite pieces. So don't let me forget to mention that. Okay, so Naviance. We at Thurston have used this program called Naviance. It's available through each board, and the students have a lesson throughout the year, and they take one of these three. So sixth graders took the Strengths Explorer, seventh graders took the Achieve Work Skills, and then eighth graders took the Career Interest Profiler. And each one, they're very similar, but each one varies a little bit. So Strengths Explorer helps the students identify their top three strongest emerging strengths, and it'll give them a results report write-up and talks about how they can develop those strengths. The Achieve Work Skills goes more into some of those soft skills that we utilize right in the workplace and just in life, like critical thinking, creativity, leadership, being conscientious. So this one doesn't give them like a top skill or top three skills. It more just rates them. Like you're really, really high in creativity, and you could maybe develop some more leadership. And then it will give them also recommendations on how to do that, how to develop those skills, both in school and out of school, outside of school. And they give them like tangible examples of how to do that. So that's probably my favorite one. And then career interest profiler, this one assesses students based on the RIOT set. It's a study that breaks down 6 different traits that we all kind of have. So being maybe artistic or being social, those are my top 2, and how those tie into careers. So this one's very career focused. All 3 of them, this is really cool, is that they link to possible careers that your student might enjoy or might do really well in. So I look at the Naviance interest assessments as a foundation, a place to start a conversation, right? Like looking at the results and asking your child, like, hey, what do you think about your results? Like, do you see these as your strengths, or do you feel like you're really creative? Like, you never shown interest in art, like, what is that? And then looking at the different careers and asking them what they think about those careers. So when we did the lessons, we kind of started those conversations, and it was interesting. Some students saw the results and they were like, yes, I've always wanted to be a paralegal. And I was like, wow, I didn't know what a paralegal is. I'm so other kids looked at the results and they were like, no way do I want to be an architect. So they had varied reactions, and asking them about what their insight and perspective was really interesting. Because we had this conversation right before the presentation. These results might change, right?
Yes.
I wish I had results from middle school for myself, and then flash forward and take it now to see like how much it's changed for me, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a good foundation and a place to start. Because the best opportunity is in real life experiences, right? So I listed a variety of places. We talked about maybe a strength being artistic and creative, right? So maybe you lean into some of that, or maybe it's getting outside and connecting with nature or animals. Boys and Girls Club and rec centers, I think both provide a good variety. So you can find opportunities for like STEM workshops. You can find opportunities for sports. One of the rec centers had cooking classes for teens. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I wish my parents had signed me up for that, because they were very comfortable making us clean. So now I'm very comfortable cleaning. I want to change my role. So like comfortable with that. Never made me cook. And that just seems like a daily life skill. So I'm gonna put a plug in for that. Our student support specialist, when I was making this, recommended tech workshops through Apple. So you can sign up your child for coding workshops, which is cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah, making music too through apps. Like they have a lot of different options. What else? So Aquarium Pacific, I found some pretty cool things. They had like summer camps that were one was like 5 days long from 8 to 5, and they like did an aquarium tour. They feed the animals. They learned about the different local ecosystems. So that was getting pretty interesting. For maybe older students, college tours. If you have time to go onto a college campus and do a tour, that is a great opportunity to kind of expose them to colleges. But I linked a virtual college tour website. We do workshops with students, and we have them explore a campus and kind of fill out this worksheet. But the virtual college tours are actually really like realistic, I guess, with technology now, and Google Maps, so I definitely recommend just checking it out to see what you think of it. And then my last one is guided conversations, and this brings me to role models. I have a printout of some guided questions, and it's probably my favorite recommendation is if you can't do any of these things, just start the conversation with your child about maybe it's from the interest profile, like the strengths and their interests, who they are, who's their role model, why do they admire that person, what qualities do they admire that person. If they could have any job, even if it's not real, they had to make it up, like what job would they interest?
Terrific.
What they love about school, what they not love about school,
For sure.
why?
Yeah.
Tell them how you got to your career. Tell them that story. I'm sure that like they'd be interested to hear that, even if they don't share that, right? So just starting off with those conversations, I think is the most important thing you can really do to help your child just start to think about these things.
Hello, everybody. I'm back. So again, I'm Kristen Wynn. I'm the student support specialist for El Moro as well as the FRC. So I get the luxury of working at both, which is super awesome. So today I'm going to be talking to you about social connections and voluntary mentorship, more with a focus on the mentorship part. So I want you guys to take a moment to think back to the pandemic. And you're probably like, no, thank you, I don't want to. Right? Which is totally understandable. But I think that time taught us a lot about the importance and the meaningfulness of social connections with other people. And I know for me, I'm the type of person who's kind of like, I'd love to hang out with you, but I also want to be home by 8 o'clock because I have an extensive Instagram, TikTok, cat video. So thank you and good night, right? But when COVID happened, I was like, okay, you know, like I can sit in my pajamas, I can not get up, not do all the work, I can go on Zoom all day. Like that sounds cool. But after 2 weeks, I was like trying to make meaningful conversations with the Trader Joe's workers. And I came to like, tell me about your life. It's like, man, just take your cards and go, right? So that connection is so important. And so think about like your tweens and your teens, right? Who are the most important people in their lives? That's going to be their friends. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's like a teacher who they want to sit and eat lunch with, right? And so in those little moments, like you think about your high school best friend, how you want to sit and talk to them all the time and tell them about your day. Or like maybe you're texting your crush late at night underneath the blankets when your parents tell you to go to sleep. But those connections are so meaningful to them. And so I kind of want to take this time to talk about the social connections for these young people, not only with their friends and their family, but with their community, right? Because when we think back on the pandemic, we were kind of caged in with our families, and then we lost that community connection. So even walking down the street and seeing people and saying hello was kind of gone. So characteristics of a teen who has well social connections, they're going to be stable, right? So they're going to have a community surrounding them. When you're going back out into the community, we live in Southern California, so we've got a big melting pot of cultures. So that naturally leads to students who are going to be more accepting, as well as valued, belonged, and supported, right? There's like a statistic that educators have where you have 5 positive interactions with students to every 1 negative one. But same goes with relationships. Socially connected kids need 5 positive connections with adults and people in order to feel like belonging. Social skills, this is very important. As like a mental health worker, I deal with social skills all the time. So we have active listening that's very important. A lot of times when you're having a conversation, you're thinking about what you're thinking about and how you're going to respond to somebody else. But active listening takes a lot of patience and hard work to hear what they're saying as well. Group collaboration. I'm sure at some point all of us have done a group project And yeah, they're not the best, but it's so important to be able to work with other people, especially, even if you're working from home, right? You're still having Zoom meetings, you still gotta work with other people. So that's a really important skill to develop. Social awareness of social nuances and ways to interact with other people and reading the room, which is a skill that a lot of people do. We've got stress reduction and then empathy, which is so important, being able to feel what other people feel. So let's start with more negative prevention. So having strong social ties with others helps prevent bullying, and unfortunately, you know, the district does a really good job of working hard to prevent that, but it still happens. It's happened from the dawn of time, right? So having a good, solid team around you is so important in strength in numbers. Alcohol and drug abuse, again, that's something that unfortunately is very real, and so having good, like-minded people and adults and friends and a community around you to support that makes it less likely to happen. Depression, anxiety, social isolation, these are all mental health concerns, and unfortunately, that's real. I see it every day, and so even having one person to talk to who is a positive influence on you can make a big difference in times when you feel like everything's falling apart. And then low self-esteem, which I would like to flip with the opposite effects of having good self-connection. That's gonna improve your self-esteem. Even a small compliment being like, hey, that's awesome, I love those pink accents in your outfit. You work it well. Maybe that'll make your day, right? Provide a sense of belonging, again, with other people around you. Promotes emotional wellness, which is a flip to the depression and anxiety. And then opens healthy connections with like-minded individuals. So moving forward, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the volunteer opportunities, which I know you guys have talked about, and so is Mr. Frederick. So I won't go too deep into that, but I would like to focus on the mentorship programs as well, to make those connections with people. So why volunteer? Like I said, it is a graduation requirement, but I don't want that to be the only reason why you would want to volunteer, especially to like start as early as elementary and middle school and get your kids involved in different aspects of the community. Laguna Beach is a really great place that has so many cool things to check out, and it's so unique. So take advantage. It brings fulfillment, not only to yourself to help somebody else, but it brings fulfillment to the person that you're helping. Make new friends, and like we kind of said, finding people that like the same things as you can be so cool. Like I remember some of the volunteering and internships that I did, I've met some awesome people who I'm still friends with today because we have an interest in mental health and counseling and talking to other people, and so that's been awesome. Exploring new interests, finding out what you like, and getting to know that. And then with like the college and the job, it helps build up your resume, prepare you for those future endeavors that you're gonna have and learn those skill sets that are gonna keep you going. It helps improve your community. Obviously, I'm a big proponent of giving back to the community that's given so much to me and helped raise me as a person. And most of all, it's just really fun to do and to get out of the house and do something good. So here's a few, and I'll just kind of go into them a little bit. So we've got the library. This is for my little bookworms. I have never been a big bookworm until I became an adult. And I totally think everybody should read. It's really great. Right?
That's a great idea.
So this is great for our youth. It helps with shelving. You can do the fun crafts with the kids and summer reading, sorry. I'm a huge fan of the Women Girl Club, and I'm a little biased because I actually spent my entire grad program working with them as well. So they've got some really good stuff going on for kids in our community with like sports and tech and games and all that good stuff. And I know a lot of families in our community utilize the Boys and Girls Club. So why not give back to somebody who gave to you, right? Environmental Nature Center, this is not too far, at Newport Beach. You guys learn Laguna Beach. We're all about environmental literacy. So if that is something that's up your alley, highly recommend checking it out. Volunteer Match is just a resource for you guys, again, kind of looking at what you like and your kids and finding something that matches for you. And he says website right here, just so you guys are aware, you will be receiving this PowerPoint through email. So any links that anybody have posted, you'll have access to. Families Forward is a really awesome one. I've done a lot of work with them. They help families in the community of Southern Orange County, with basic needs. So they got like food, housing support, clothing support. This is a really great one to bring your kids into. El Moro recently did a Thanksgiving food drive for Families Forward, which was so awesome seeing like the kids step up and really like taking ownership of helping people have a really safe and fun holiday. So I highly recommend that one. They need help during the big times, so like Christmas, Thanksgiving, all that. Assistantly, I think you guys mentioned as well. They have a chapter in Laguna Beach. They focus on philanthropic projects. And I believe there is a dues fee. It's for grades 7 to 12. But if that's something that you're interested in, I would give that a check. Laguna Beach Food Pantry, they're also great, helping give out food, dispersing it. This one is kind of my favorite. So it's the Shea Center for Therapeutic Writing. So amazing, if you guys have heard of it, it's in San Juan Capistrano. So they do horse therapy for people with disabilities. And so if your child is interested in working here, it's for 14 plus. They actually get trained to work with the writer and the teacher. And you get to help out with sessions. So for those with big hearts or looking to work in like the animal field, this one is so cool. So I had
Now, my daughter has been a client of the Shea Center for a decade, and it has changed her life. And I can say, for somebody who will never be able to be on their own, it has given her a real sense of pride. And those volunteers that have come that are close to her age group or around that age group has been invaluable. So, yay you.
Shea Center for Therapeutic Writing, take a look. And then mentorship opportunities, I'm only just one at the end, I'm gonna have Ashley come up and talk with you. So these are some really cool ones. This is mostly for your high schoolers. The National Alliance for Mental Illness, it sounds dark, but they are, they're a really great organization who, what they do is, like I said, mental health issues are real. Depression and anxiety are real things, and teenagers experience them. So this has a peer mentoring program where they pair up people who have gone through similar experiences and have come out the other side. So let's say that there's a person who has gone through depression, they fill out a form. These are the things I like. And then when someone applies, they match them together so that you have someone to talk to who may have gone through the same experiences that you are, and that can be so valuable. Big Brothers Big Sisters is a really famous one. The one that they have in Orange County, they work with college students from CSUF, UCI, Chapman, where they pair a college student with a high school student, and they do a one-on-one mentorship. It lasts about a year, but it's so cool to see, like, if you're interested in any of these schools too, it's like, wow, like there's somebody who, that's what I like and has gone to college, like, that's awesome. Orange County United Way, they focus more on like the workforce. They have a couple of different programs. Workplace Mentors is 4-week internship, so about 20 hours a week during the summertime, where they pair you with a person who is in the field of your interest. And then the e-mentorship is like a virtual one. So that can be nice if you are busy, you know what I mean? Which I know your students are. So that can be a nice little alternative. And then this last one I really want to highlight because the Laguna Beach Teen Leadership Academy with Laguna Beach PD, amazing opportunity. I really cannot stress this enough for you guys. It is one weekend. It's July 19th to 21st.
July 29th to July 31st.
I can't type. So, and she had me a holy one. Okay, so I'll fix that before I send it to you all. So they do some really amazing leadership opportunities and field trips, and I'll let her speak a little bit more on that because I don't want to.
Yes, so the TLA really should be called like Common Sense Hangout Camp, eat really good food, meet really cool people week. We have, it's like my breakfast club of kiddos. It's for incoming 9th through 12th graders and exceptionally mature 8th graders as well. And so we get kids, usually 20 to 25 kids every summer. that want to spend a week with the cops. And that's like, it blows my mind right away. So you want to sacrifice doing nothing and sleeping in and come hang out with me, and we're not in uniform or anything. But we introduce them to like a network at what everyone's been talking about. We go do equine therapy at the Shea Center. So we bring them there. And it's free, it's zero cost for everything. So we provide the transportation, we provide meals, and your girl likes to eat. So we get really good things. We teach them culinary things. We partner with a local restaurant to teach them how to make pizzas or how to boil water. We teach financial literacy too. So a lot of kids don't know how to write a check, address an envelope, things like that. I will hopefully set them up. But the best part is they get to be themselves for a week. And they meet kids, not just from Laguna, we get kids from Tesoro, San Juan Hills, all the Irvine schools. I open it up to everyone, all the moms groups that I can find. I'm like, here, send your kid to this.
Awesome.
Come hang out with us. They get 20 hours of community service hours. They get letters of rent anytime they need it. And most importantly, they create a foundation of a trusted adult, at least with me and all my colleagues. And yeah, so I can't preach this one enough. And I'm very, very proud because for the last 4 years that I've been involved, last year we didn't do it. And it was because I was on maternity leave. But every other year we have returning kids who you wouldn't think that would want to do this. So we've got, your star football player and cheerleader, and then I've got your kid who's been hiding in the shadows too. And to see them come together without the pressure of their peers and 800 other kids on campus, it makes you cry.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really rewarding. So if you know anyone who might benefit, if you need to punish your kid or anything. Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you. So again, I highly recommend looking into that if your kids are in 8th grade and above.
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna close out today. I have everybody's contact information that spoke today. If you resonated with something they shared, or maybe you want to learn more about what they had to talk about, here's all their emails addresses. Again, you'll be emailed this presentation, so you'll have access to that. Upcoming events, because we want to share.
Yeah, so next Thursday is our final parent seminar of the year. So I'm breathing a sigh of relief, but I'm also really excited to wrap up the year, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done, and just I just want to give a round of applause to all of you that have really participated today, because I'm really honored to be in your presence. And the information you guys have shared today is really valuable, and I can't wait to share it out to the greater community, and please spread the word, because we have such a wonderful array of experts here, and I said it at the beginning of the session, but I'm just really proud to serve alongside all of you and serve kids. So, but next Thursday we have Grace Jones, who's our school psychologist at the high school. She has a really deep passion to talk about happiness, positive psychology, and so this will be an evening or early evening, I suppose, event, and then we're gonna try to do the hybrid option again as well. So we'll be pushing it out, but please spread the word. These are really valuable seminars that we're trying to offer with a variety of different topics. So we hope that we can see you next week as well. But with that, I think we wrap up the seminar today, and we really value it. We had a pretty long array of presenters today, so we actually planned for Q&A, but we are at 11 o'clock. So we want to honor all of you, but if you have questions, our presenters will stick around, and please ask any questions.